It's been relatively quiet in the world of Nintendo as of late, and as we still have no idea what Nintendo are releasing on Switch later this year, in the spirit of complete hope and complete detachment from reality, I thought I would put a list together of 5 franchises I hope that Nintendo revitalise in the coming year, or at least in the not too distant future. We've had a few new subscribers to the channel recently, so thank you very much for subscribing, you lot. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you're new around here or you haven't subscribed yet, maybe watch to the end and consider doing so if you enjoyed the video. Anyway, enough of that nonsense, let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome to PMyth Gaming. The first franchise on this list is actually the impetus for this video, and it's one I found myself thinking about the other day for some reason or another. Super Mario Strikers may not be the most popular of Mario's various sporting forays. Certainly his time on the racetrack and tennis court tend to be the better sellers, and there could well be some of you watching this who'd rather Mario return to the driving range before he puts on his footy boots again. But the 2 Strikers games we've had, I think, are some of Nintendo's best multiplayer efforts. My brothers and I used to laugh ourselves stupid playing the original back on the GameCube, slamming each other into electric fences and ruining perfectly charged shots with a barrage of well-aimed shells. And Charge offered another bout of hilarious soccer shenanigans on the Wii as well. I think it would be perfect for the Switch, what with the 2 Joy-Con easily allowing for some cracking couch multiplayer. Plus, I think the frantic, fun gameplay totally matches the Switch's MO. And let's face it, we're not likely to get a proper FIFA game from EA anytime soon, so we might as well go nuts with a bit of Mario footy for the time being. The last entry sold around 1.8 million copies on the Wii, so admittedly it's not a huge seller. Though both entries in the franchise did outsell Mario Superstar Baseball. But I reckon it could definitely find an audience on Switch, especially if they find some way to maybe tie it into next year's Euro Championships or maybe the next World Cup. My second pick is WarioWare. Now, admittedly, this franchise hasn't been dormant all too long, considering there was a kind of best-of thing released on the 3DS a couple of years ago. But the Switch seems to be kind of lacking in those sort of frantic multiplayer minigame collections, and so who better than Wario to bring that back? The closest thing we've probably had was 1-2-Switch, all the way back when the console first launched in 2017. And whilst that functioned well enough as a glorified tech demo, it lacked the variety, depth and charm that something like WarioWare has. 1-2-Switch at least made some interesting uses of things like the HD Rumble and the IR sensor on the right Joy-Con. So I reckon a new WarioWare game could give Nintendo the opportunity to make better use of some of those underutilised features on the Switch. Digging back into the archives a little, and Wave Race is another one that I adored back in the day that just seems to have disappeared without a trace. That said, it does appear to be on the radar of some people at Nintendo. Back in 2018, Shinya Takahashi, one of Nintendo's executive developers, was explicitly asked about the possibility of a new Wave Race game at that year's BAFTA Awards by the website Fandom. To which he replied, "You may see that game again. We have been trying to make many games and that may be one of them. I personally love Wave Race." It's kind of dropped off of people's radar since then, and obviously there's been no official announcement. But given that Nintendo don't seem likely to drop any new Mario Kart content anytime soon, maybe Wave Race could be a welcome entry into the Switch's racing library. As could my top pick, but we'll talk about that shortly. Before we get to the obvious choice though, Advance Wars deserves a mention, and I feel like it's one that could happen sooner rather than later. There's been a number of Advance Wars clones appear on Switch in recent years, Tiny Metal and Wargroove chief amongst them. Wargroove in particular did very well, recouping its costs in just a couple of days, so there's clearly an audience for that type of game. The genre does seem to be undergoing a bit of a resurgence with the likes of Wargroove, and I think Nintendo would be mad not to capitalise on that. Yes, Nintendo's focus in recent times has been Fire Emblem so far as strategy games are concerned, but between the main releases, spin-offs, and inordinate number of entries in Smash Bros., I think it's time Nintendo took a little break from the fantasy franchise and revisited the series that gave the GBA some of its best games. Finally, obviously, it's gotta be F-Zero. It's kinda nuts to think that the last F-Zero game we got was released nearly 17 years ago. 2 home consoles have come and gone in that time, as have 4 iterations of Nintendo handhelds. There'll undoubtedly be plenty of Smash Bros. Players out there who will be Falco punching their way across Final Destination, having never gotten behind the wheel of the Blue Falcon. Again, the likes of Redout and Fast RMX has shown that there is an audience out there for that type of game, especially if it's done well, and yet the closest we've had in recent years is a couple of courses and a car in Mario Kart 8. The reason for the series lying dormant, at least according to a Shigeru Miyamoto interview a few years back, is that Nintendo had just kind of ran out of ideas with what to do with the franchise. To which I say, look at Fast RMX. The polar shifting mechanics seen in Fast RMX could easily make itself at home in an F-Zero game, and would add a new element to the series that it just hasn't seen before. I wouldn't be opposed to Nintendo enlisting RMX's developer Shinen to make the game either. With Nintendo's supervision, I reckon they could build on what they achieved with Fast RMX to create something worthy of the F-Zero name. And you could even call it F-Zero Switch, this thing writes itself! Frankly though, it's been that long that I don't think F-Zero needs to do anything miraculously different to get us interested. Just give us some crisp HD visuals, some new courses and some solid online, and we'll be laughing. Hell, I'd be delighted with just a HD remake of F-Zero GX. Just please give me something. So there you go, those are the 5 franchises that I hope Nintendo raise from the dead sometime soon. But what about you? Are you a hardcore Golden Sun fan? Are you still clinging on to the hope of Mother 3? Let me know down in the comments, and let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not go and check out another episode, and maybe consider subscribing so you never miss another one. This show goes out every Friday, but there's tons more stuff here on the Nintendo Village for you to enjoy. And be sure to check out thenintendovillage.com for news, reviews, features, podcasts, and all that cool stuff. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all next week.